a lot of purling, which I usually hate, but I'm enjoying this so much. I'm usually a product knitter and not a process knitter, but I'm shockingly, absolutely loving every purl. Welcome to episode 55 of the podcast. I'm Jamie, your host and the dyer behind m1yarns.com. And this is a knitting podcast. If you're here for the first time, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. So I'm recording this on a Friday afternoon. I have tried to get my butt in gear and record essentially all afternoon. And it is now, I think, like 5:30. So it's mid-January. We've completely lost the daylight. So we're doing artificial light, which is not really doing that much for me, but it is what it is. But I figured it's Friday afternoon. Why not pour a glass of wine and make this like a little more relaxed, fun version? You get wine, Jamie, instead of, I think normally I do herbal tea, but sometimes I'll do like English tea or chai tea. So rather than the caffeinated version or the chill version, you get like the come have a drink with me version. Just kidding. I'm not going to get sloshed. I haven't even started drinking yet. Anyway, cheers. Thanks for joining me. I hope you have a beverage of sorts. This is a funny glass. I got this years ago from a friend who made them all for a group of us girls, and it's a good size wine glass. It actually looks way bigger on camera than it is in person. I mean, it's like the size of my head. Okay, that's a little bit more to scale. Hopefully I don't totally get drunk and spill on my wine, because that would not be good. Anyway. All right. Let's dive in. Man, my mojo for knitting right now is like basically at an all-time high. So we have some fun stuff to discuss today. Let's start with what I'm wearing, because half the time I forget to talk about that at the beginning. I am wearing the Brightfeather by Knit.love.wool. That's her design brand and her I swear I haven't been drinking yet. Her Instagram handle. I'll put it on the screen. Anyway, her government name, as they say, is Jennifer Steingass. And this is one of my favorite sweaters that I've ever knit. I love the color. This is I love the texture. Let me tell you all about it real briefly. Because I made this before I did finished object review videos, which if you're curious about any of the finished objects I made in the last year, I have a playlist on my YouTube channel. You can just go to the top, like if you're on your laptop or whatever, go to playlist and choose the finished object review playlist, and they're all in there. But this was before that time when I was really organized and did that. I think I knit this a year and a half to 2 years ago. Anyway, it's mohair held doubled. The blue is my denim colorway. Get a little close up. And the white is just undyed yarn, which I should make a point to say this. Like if you're ever looking at a project and you just need undyed mohair or suri or whatever you need, merino, just send me a message. I don't have it listed on my website, but we can certainly make some arrangements. But anyway, I love the contrast. It is fierce and bold, and I love the mohair held doubled. I love mohair. I'm very picky on the mohair. My mohair doesn't itch me. It's 72% kid mohair and 28% silk. I don't know what my hair is doing today. It has a mind of its own, so we're not going to talk about it. But this is it actually on, I should say, the colorway Sand, which I dyed on my fingering base a few months ago and was pretty popular. I sold out of it, and then I meant to dye it on all my bases and have kind of forgotten. But someone recently messaged me wanting some of this, and so I dyed up a little bit. There is some left in the shop if you're interested, but this is sand, and you might be able to tell it's just a smidge creamier than the white. This mohair does not itch me, but some, especially commercial mohairs, do. And I think mohair has changed a lot. My mom had this mohair wrap from Scotland from like the 70s that she gave me, and it itches my hands when I touch it. I can only wear it with like a turtleneck and wear it almost like, you know, kind of up down here rather than like up here. I digress. Anyway, this does not itch me, and this is one strand of this, 2 strands of it held together. You can get a feel for the gauge situation on here. So it's really light as far as like the thickness of the fabric, but it's very warm. The mohair is very warm. It is snowing today here in Michigan, and it was nice to put this on. I took the dogs on a walk earlier and got total wind burn on my cheeks. I don't know if you can still see it. I think the makeup is doing a good job. But I had like severe wind burn here and even a little bit on my chin, but mostly like right here on both sides from walking the dogs today. And I came home, took a hot shower, put this on, and I feel totally cozy. And yes, I loved knitting this. I will say this, since I didn't do a finished object review, I will tell you what I would do differently. This part, because it's like the color work, the 2 colors flip-flopping as you go, is tighter than down here where it's just stockinette. And so while this is a properly proportioned fit for my bust and everything, the body of it almost like flares like a maternity shirt. Not the look I'm going for. But in hindsight, what I should have done, and I think this sweater was a good learning experience, is I should have done waist shaping down the sides so that you see where my hand is running right there along my body, so that the top would have maybe fit like that a little better, so we wouldn't have quite this like almost like an A-line situation, which I don't love. Typically when I wear this, if I wear it with jeans, I might do the little tuck right in the front so it just kind of like shows off my waist a little more. Today I'm wearing it with leggings, and I think it looks fine. The sleeves, you knit, the sleeves are completely straight, which is fine. I do prefer a more fitted, like tapered sleeve. So in hindsight, I would have changed that, and I do bear that in mind these days. I would say over the last 2 years, I've gotten very particular about customizing my knits beyond the pattern, so that like I said, the waist shaping, the arm shaping, all sorts of things are the way I want it. And I don't know why the neck is doing this weird. I ironed it kind of funny. Anyway, that was a long rant all about this, but if you're interested, I highly recommend the pattern. The pattern is really well written. Last episode, we chatted briefly about an Aran weight sweater that I wanted to make. And I think I was actually wrong. It might be worsted, but it doesn't matter because you can't buy the pattern on Ravelry, even though it's listed. It's a problem with the designer's PayPal, turns out. And I've messaged the designer on Ravelry. Ravelry has messaged the designer. I've messaged her on Instagram and she hasn't responded, and I gave her like a week or so, and maybe for some reason something has changed and she doesn't get those communications anymore. Who knows? But I'm really bummed that I won't be knitting, what's it called? I'll insert it here. But after the last episode where I was talking about that, I spent some significant time on Ravelry looking for what I want to do. I have 3 skeins of this yarn, which is Hudson and West Forge in the colorway Honey, which was exclusive to Rhinebeck last year. And I only have 3 skeins of this because I bought it with that other pattern specifically in mind. In hindsight, I should have bought a 4th skein to give myself a little wiggle room. But, so that played into a lot of my, like, could I make this with this yarn? Could I make that with this yarn? Finally, I think I've settled on another Knit.love.wool pattern. Same designer. The Goldwing. I'll insert a photo here. I've had this in my queue for, let's see, it came out in 2020. I'm sure I queued it up right away. In fact, I bought the pattern. I've had it, I think, printed for quite some time. So because it's color work, I will need a contrast color, which is not a problem. This is actually worsted. I thought it was Aran. I can just, you know, like pair my own worsted weight with this. This will be the main color. I actually have about a skein and a half of a this is non-superwash. I actually have about a skein and a half of a non-superwash undyed yarn from another project that's just now like kind of laying in my scraps. And I could totally pair it either undyed, so it would be like this, and cream, kind of like this motif, or I was thinking this color might look really fun with like a magenta. And I'll insert a photo of why I thought that. A few days ago, I was watching Caddy Jack's Bingo podcast episode, and Caitlin was wearing this like shrug thing that was striped, and it was a very similar color to this, along with like a magenta. And I thought the magenta played really well with this, and I normally would not be like a magenta kind of girl because it just kind of doesn't do much for my hair. But I thought it might be fun. It'll be less contrasty than like how this is, color and then undyed. That would be contrast, like heavy. And then the magenta with this, which I could just dye up a new colorway. I have been wanting to create some new colorways, so that might be a fun excuse. But will you comment below and let me know what you think? Should I do the honey with undyed or the honey with magenta? Option A or option B? Let me know. Anyway, I'm going to cast this on really soon. And I say really soon because since the last episode, I have cast on and finished one project and cast on another project, and the two go together. This is the, I can't remember if I teased it last time. This is the Bold Stripes skirt by Wiam's Craft. I think I pronounced it somewhat correctly. This is my skirt. It fits perfectly. Like the waist, the length, the hips. I got gauge. I had to go down several needle sizes, but I think that's a yarn related issue and the fact that I'm a loose knitter. And so I'm going to insert a photo here. This is a skirt and sweater set. It's a free pattern. And as soon as I finished the skirt, which it only took me about 3 or 4 days to knit. I mean, I was like on a roll. Then I cast on the top, which is kind of scrunched up on my needles here. And of course I don't have point protectors. Classic Jamie. I'm gonna lose my stitches. Anyway, you can kind of get a feel for it. So what's interesting about this, I bought this yarn while on a yarn shopping day with my friend Gwen. You can actually hear all about that excursion in an episode. I'll link, I think it's this corner, right here, right here. If it's not, then it's right here. But I bought this yarn while shopping with Gwen. I'm holding this yarn doubled, it's DK. And then I'm holding this yarn, which is just a, can you see it? Can you see that very, there we go. That little metallic tiny strand with it. And honestly, you probably, like, I tried taking a photo of it the other day. You kind of get a shined feel on the camera. I tried photographing it though, and I couldn't get the metallic bit to like catch the light enough so that you could actually see it was there. But in person, it actually looks really cool. And I am so excited to wear this with the top. The top is a top-down yoke, and I cast this on yesterday. And I'm loving it. It's a lot of purling, which I usually hate, but I'm enjoying this so much. I'm usually a product knitter and not a process knitter, but I'm shockingly, absolutely loving every purl. So, it's a well-written pattern. It's free. I will link it in the show notes below. I cast those on because I finished my knitted pants, which I've talked about recently. And I will link the finished object review video here in one of these corners. I never know which one. So you can hear all about that on a separate, like, 10-minute video. That being said, let's see. I'm just reading my little notes that I have on a post-it underneath the camera. So the knit along that I'm hosting is currently underway, and I'm loving hearing everyone talk about it on Instagram as well as the Ravelry forum. Again, I'll link the Ravelry forum below, and on Instagram it's basically just post using this hashtag. But we are knitting Espace Tricot's classic sweater, which is a free pattern available on Ravelry. And I think I haven't done that much since the last episode on this. I split for the sleeves, and I'm now on the body. I mean, I probably only have like an inch or two done on the body, but so now I'm kind of on the cruising portion where it's just stockinette. But I'm really loving this. This is some farm yarn that I bought at Rhinebeck, held with my mohair in the colorway Mushroom. I don't know. Oh, there, you can now see kind of the halo. I'm loving this. It feels so good. It's neutral, which I feel like I will get so much wear out of. Oh, I just love it. The make-along runs through March 12th, so you have a good 2 months to cast this on and join in the make-along fun. If you've never done a make-along, really, there's very few rules. It's basically we're all making the same pattern within a specific window of time, and when you post about it, generally you are, by posting, entering to win a chance to win a prize. Entering to get a chance to win a prize. It's been a long day. It's been a long week. So you can use any yarn. Just knit that pattern. You'll love it. You need it in your wardrobe. I think once I finish that bold stripes top that I just showed you, this one, then I'm going to cast on the warm-up sweater. which I still need to wind some yarn for. I'm looking at the pattern and the yarn sitting over there, and it's just calling my name like it wants to be knit. And that has mohair in it too. I am on a mohair binge. Speaking of binge, my husband and I watch The Servant on Apple TV, and the 4th season just dropped. I think we're still in the 2nd season. So if you watch that, comment below. Let me know your thoughts. The other thing I was going to mention is that with it being like the new year, I always try and take this time to take inventory of lots of things in my life. Whether that's like a little bit of spring cleaning. I know it's not spring, but you know, it's winter. We tend to spend more time indoors, and it just feels like, you know, you just want to clear the air, so to speak. And I spend a lot of time like purging stuff that either I don't use anymore or I don't like anymore or whatever. I just want to get it out of the house. And I was looking at some of my knits because, let's be honest, I make a lot and there's only so much space for all my stuff. So I have to be pretty strategic about storage. I generally keep all my off-season makes in a huge like Rubbermaid tote in the basement, and then like April and October I'll flip-flop them. But my winter ones, generally I do have a lot of bulky makes, which I'm kind of starting to veer away from, especially the technically bulky ones. And only because I can fit more finer gauge stuff in the spaces, like in my closet and whatnot. And I was looking at one the other day that I was like, okay, this sweater is from before I had my yarn business, so it's not my yarn. It's pretty well loved, as they say. And I was looking at it like, you know what? I don't necessarily feel like it's my vibe anymore. And I'll insert a photo of it because I actually left it upstairs accidentally. And I don't feel like going to get it because I have a sleeping dog under my feet. But it's the Enchanted Mesa by Stephen West. This was one of my first seamless top-down yoke sweaters that I ever knit, and I think that a few things went into play here that you know, I think like purging is a good thing. Like I don't want to be owned by my possessions, and I think a lot of us, like in a very consumer centric culture that we have, especially here in the US, is very like, we feel like we need a lot, and I'd rather have less and higher quality and higher satisfaction things than lots of things around me and feel like I'm just, you know, kind of being closed in by my possessions. But that being said, that was a rant. The yarn, I don't think I even got gauge. I don't know if I even took gauge. Who knows? The yarn is like a mix of a few different stash yarns. I think I also used, I made this as a scrap buster, which I'm not opposed to, but I did like wide stripes, which I talked about this last episode. I am not a fan of wide stripes on my figure. I also think that because it's a little bit funky and positive ease, and the sleeves are way too long, and I don't think it really flatters. I'm just not digging it. So I think I'm gonna put it in the donation box to donate to charity, along with like some other clothes. And I know people, you know, there are people out there who will appreciate it. Anyway, that just got me thinking, like, wow, that was one of my first top-down seamless sweaters, and I watched some podcasts at the time, and at the time, actually, I worked at a yarn shop. And what's really funny is that the yarn shop owner would tell people to do gauge, but not like the way the sweater is knit. So let's say you're knitting the sweater in the round. She would say like, oh, just knit a flat gauge. Totally not. Okay, sorry about that. We had a barking dog situation. Anyway, while I think I might have done a gauge swatch, it wasn't done, I'm sure, in the round. I didn't really know about that at the time. I've learned a lot from podcasts. The point of me telling you this story is that I really love sharing with you guys the good, bad, and the ugly, because I think a big part of the podcast should be like, let's share our knowledge. And if I knew so many things in my early days of knitting that I didn't know then, but I know now, I think I would have found more long-term satisfaction in my finished objects, which took me a long time to develop. A big part of that is choosing yarn that you actually really love, that will wear well, colors that will last in your wardrobe, designs that fit into your style aesthetic. And a lot of these things I just, it's an evolution. Skills that you didn't have. I love chatting with viewers and my customers that are like, I need help with this. What do you think about this? Should I do that? Should I do that? I love that. It really helps feel like we are a community, even though for the most part, we all tend to knit by ourselves at home, or maybe on the train, the bus, the picnic table at work on your lunch, whatever it is. I know that for a lot of us, like, knitting is kind of a solo thing, and then occasionally we build community. So I just thought that it was interesting. When I looked at that sweater, I was like, wow, there's so many things about this that I didn't do right, that I don't like, but that I can use as a learning experience. So all that to say, the next episode I am planning to bring you very, very soon is going to be super exciting. It's going to be what I like to affectionately call a field trip episode, because I'm going to be going with a girlfriend to a nearby wool-related business and doing a little bit of a hands-on experience. And I'm going to bring you guys for that. So stay tuned. If you don't already subscribe and click the bell to get the notifications, please be sure to do so that you'll know as soon as I drop that video, as well as others. And also, I don't talk about this that often, but I have a Patreon page. It's linked below, and you can join Patreon for as little as $1 a month. There are 3 tiers, and the highest tier, you get a discount on my website, which you can use all the time. And there's various, it's just a way to financially support the channel. So those dollars, I thank you, my patrons. Those dollars are going towards this field trip. And hopefully this year I can bring you more. Last year I did a couple, but then because of a whole handful of negative things in my universe and my health, I kind of let that go. But I'm hoping to kind of bring you more content this year. So I'm rambling. I think that's all the content I have for you. Comment below what you think about what I should do with this yarn. Pair it with an undyed or a magenta. I really would love to hear your opinion. And thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye!